Hello and welcome to the Anyone Can Play Guitar podcast,
which gives you, the listener, a series of hints and pointers on your journey as a musical artist.
providing you with interviews from those in the music industry, along with our own experiences.
Ben and James shine some light on the many pitfalls and opportunities that being a musician has to offer.
Last week we completed our trilogy with guitarist and band leader Jamie McCready, where we covered mastering your equipment, band leaders and playing the West End. This week Ben meets up with Duncan Lloyd of Maximo to talk songwriting, writer's block and writing songs for live audiences.
Hello and welcome to episode 27 with me, Ben, and him,
James.
James. We're going to revisit a former band.
Yes. Well, not a former band. They are
Sorry.
still a band.
A guest from the same band. So, just a bit of background on this one. So,
Well, it was the first ever episode of the Anyone Can Play Guitar podcast when we had Paul Smith on.
yes,
That seems like quite some time ago then.
it does. It really does. And hopefully, this kind of one with Duncan Lloyd, guitarist from Maximo and his solo stuff. It's not the same interview. I was really conscious of not just repeating the same questions to just go, so, when Paul said this, because obviously there was different things when it was discussed.
Yes, although it would be fair to say that despite you saying that, there is a lot of overlap in
Well,
terms
there will
of
be
the
overlap,
topics.
yeah. There will be overlap.
But as much as that is a thing and a fact, I quite liked that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was useful, interesting to hear. Yes, we've heard from Paul covering a number of things, but just seeing what somebody else in the band's take on it was,
Yeah.
and hearing Duncan talk about it from his perspective on those same topics, albeit that we covered other things with him as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, one of the reasons I got in touch, so I've been speaking to Maximo Park's management when Paul was the guest, and recently moving house I came across a guitar head, and that guitar head was given to me by
An amp head.
an amp head, apologies. It was given to me by my dad's then partner, whose son's friend tragically passed away in not very nice circumstances. But he was a guitarist, a very accomplished guitarist, and Maximo Park's first album was dedicated to him. So when I found it, I went, I haven't really used this in a while. I wonder if Maximo Park would like it. Duncan's a guitarist. He knew him well. Let's just see what happens. Do you want it? And if you want it, you can totally have it. And if you want to chat as well, let's have a chat. So it's quite a nice story, as in, because he said he's going to try and maybe see how it works. Maybe he's getting on a new album. So that's really Fraser's guitar amp head is being played on a Maximo Park album. I thought it was really nice.
Yeah,
So
which is a nice touch.
it's just like a nice circle going on. I mean,
And for Maximo fans out there, which you get on to, Duncan said that they're planning on rearranging some old songs as well as a bit of collaboration.
Yeah,
They've got in the pipeline at the moment.
Yeah, again, we'll talk about it later, but keeping it fresh, I think was the term he used.
Yeah. So what's the other topics that listeners will get out of today?
Yeah, so we talk about Maximo and his solo stuff and other projects. He likes to keep himself busy. We also talk about how he wrote for Maximo. So if you put the two conversations with him and Paul together, as you said, they kind of do overlap a bit.
Yeah.
It kind of tells the similar story completely differently because they're coming from different angles. And also, they're in the same band but having different experiences. Because Paul's he is the front man, so he's out, he's giving it 6 now, as we spoke about.
Yeah.
And Duncan, as he said, unless he's having a few, just likes to watch him and just play his guitar, and that's what they're about.
Bit on writer's block.
Yes, writer's block, and we'll get on later in the conversation about how he writes for Maximo versus sonically for himself as well, because there is a definite difference.
Yeah.
But top bloke as well, absolutely top bloke. I didn't expect anything less, to be honest. But
no,
we had a breakfast drink in one of the pubs in Newcastle.
Good. Well, here we go with Duncan Lloyd.
Good morning and welcome to the podcast, Duncan Lloyd.
Morning, thanks for having me.
Not bad. How's it going this morning?
Good, yeah, just just about made it into town through the strange weather we're having, but no, it's good. It's good to be in Newcastle for a while and back writing again and stuff. So yeah.
So you're in the middle of writing for you or Maximo Park or someone else?
Well, it's kind of a mixture really. I tend to kind of jump between projects. It just keeps things fresh. So I'll do a bit of my stuff, and then I'm working with a friend of mine on some like more acoustic stuff.
Right.
And then there's Nano Kino as well, so we're sort of trying to get an album together. So my friend Sarah's in that band. I'll also, be thinking about Maximo's stuff as well.
Okay.
So it's always a bit of a mixture. So I try and jump around, and that's what keeps it all fresh.
So when we'll be back into the Maximo cycle of festivals or gigs?
Well, I think we've been booked for a few festivals this year, so we'll definitely be out doing some things. We're looking at doing something a bit different later on in the year, which might involve sort of some collaborations.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of in the early stages, but and it might involve some rearranging of some old songs, but also we're looking at doing some new material potentially with some other people, just to sort of do something new. Because we always try and look at do something a bit fresh each time, whether it's a sound thing or whether it's how we approach doing it. So it's quite exciting that. But at the moment we're sort of having a bit of a breather just to do other things and record. Just spread our wings a little bit before we sort of knuckle down again. So that's where
cool.
we're at really.
Excellent. So as we were talking before, what I was conscious of, I don't really want to rehash the interview I had with Paul
sure.
a couple of weeks ago. Well, it was actually a couple of months ago now. So I was thinking about writing of music. So when we first started in the band, James and I thought, let's just pick up the acoustic and see what happens.
Yeah.
And we wrote it must be about 25 songs really quickly, and we only ever kept one. Which is probably what happens. And that was the second one we actually wrote as well.
Right,
Very simple. Capo on fret 5. It was C, E minor, D, E minor 7, I think.
Right,
It's very simple. But it was just a simple rhythm. Put the drums in, and that's where we went. And after that, it was kind of easy and hard to write songs. Sometimes they came, sometimes they didn't.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there listening who is either starting a band or having a bit of a writer's block after a year, because obviously you've Maximo on 5-6 albums now-ish.
Yeah, 6 I think. Six I think. Yeah.
So obviously you've probably gone through that rush of creativity, then probably a writer's block every now and again.
Yeah.
So I just thought maybe if we could just like break down a song or a set of songs to how you came about the various parts.
Yeah, sure.
So my first question is how do you start? What's the inspiration?
I guess, like you, it can be, when you sort of sit down and write, it can literally just be in the morning you wake up with almost like a feeling of there's something there that's about to happen there. So I'd pick up the guitar, and more often than not, there'll be some kind of riff or progression or something. And then it'll be, I'll stick it on my voice memos, the first thing I'll do.
Right.
And then I'll go and, have a coffee and then maybe go back to it. Some songs, they just kind of grab you and you have to keep working on it, I find. Like if something is really nagging at me, I'll have to go and do it, just kind of almost obsessively do it for the whole day. And sometimes, the next day you'll listen, you go, what was going on in my head with that? That's not very good.
Yeah.
And then some days it's like, I get this. And it might mean those songs that don't work, but you still feel there's something about them. You can strip them back to perhaps where you began with it, which can be hard to do, especially when you put so much effort in. You're like, I'm not doing that again. That didn't work. But I do find that like if I do something and then have a break from it from a day or two, because sometimes the danger is I could do 2 or 3 days on something and then come back and go, I really don't understand why I spent so long on that. So I always find having like regular breaks just to check the quality, because if you turn it on and go, well, there's nothing here, but I wish there was, then you say, okay, scrap that. And then there's other ones you go, I want to listen to that again, or I want to expand on that. All right. And I think that's part of being a writer, is you're going to have as much crap as you're going to have as much good stuff. And it's been able to just sort of filter that, I suppose, and be able to, because at first when you first start writing, you think, wow, we're writing songs, it's the best thing ever, And a lot of it does run on instinct. And, you know, I know when we started, you know, it would often be, I shared a flat with Tom in Fenham, and Lucas was in the downstairs flat, and Paul was just down the road, and Archie's was around the corner. And, you know, we'd go out a hell of a lot. And the next morning I'd just wake up with these ideas, and just, Tom had his kit in this little room with a washing machine. We'd get in there, record it. Yeah. And we would just bash these sort of ideas out very quickly. So even that early stuff, bar perhaps Going Missing and Graffiti, which I'd written sort of before we met Paul, you know, musically, and some of the lyrics on Graffiti, but really it was like I just gave, and Paul joined. It's like, here's the music, and you know, it's kind of like, you know, use whatever you like, and you know, for him to feel part of the group, really. But yeah, we would write things very quickly. Like Now More Than the Shop was, woke up one morning and it was a bit of a hangover. You know, it's just sort of like, you know, this
flies out.
Yeah, and I think there was that excitement of we had our band. We actually had all the members. Whereas before it was always a little bit in flux. Like we'd had a friend of ours, Emma, was when me and Archie started her. I was thinking about this the other day. Like friend Emma Sargent, he sung for us for a bit, and then she then went to London. She was from Leeds, moved to London, and then we played with various people before this kind of 5-piece sort of came together. So yeah, I think, you know, going back to that sort of kind of point of, you know, what you do, and if you have a writer's block, or how do you start? I think it's get the idea down initially, I think, whether it's in a blast or and do have a bit of a break, or jump onto another song. And I think, you know, try not to overthink sometimes. I think lyrics is a different thing, because when you're thinking about lyrics, it's kind of important to get them right. If they mean, you know, you might not want them to mean anything, but you might want to sort of, you know, put part of you into that song, or you might want to be completely ambiguous. It depends. But I think with lyrics, I especially find more now that you think about them more. You want them to be solid and good, and not just throw away kind of lines. Oh, that rhymes with that, and that rhymes with that. You know, which is kind of fine when you're starting, because that's how you're learning. You know? There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you want your music to just sort of pop out from perhaps some other stuff that, you know, you might hear, then lyrics are, you know, as important. But I think that they do perhaps take a little more time, and lots of reading other stuff and listening to other music always helps with that, I find.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when we were writing, it was kind of, James would either write the lyrics and come with them, and we would try and fit them, but that kind of was very rare. We would normally write something in the practice room, whether it be a riff, and just develop it from there. And then James would just mumble along to it. Sometimes it was words, sometimes it wasn't words, but it was just a melody and a rhythm. And then he would go back to his book of lyrics and go, well, that kind of fits with the atmosphere of that tone of that song. So how do you then, if you've got this idea, you've gone back and listened to it and you like it, maybe let's say it's the riff from Going Missing, something like that. You've got the riff. How do you structure into the verse or the chorus? Obviously the chorus is lifted up and the verse brings it back down, so that you hear the lyrics and that. How do you go about that?
Well, I think initially, something like Going Missing, it would be one of them things. I remember probably writing that where I had that first sort of thing for a while, and that was just like the song to me. I was like, oh, well, that's the song, you know. And then after a while, it's like, well, it has to go somewhere else. I can't just play the verse the whole time. But you try writing extra melodies on that one riff some time ago. It could go into a... But I think it was a case, again, of going... I think I got my 4-track and just got a beat. Beat together quickly. So there's a sense of rhythm, and with that, you can then move your chords. There's always that momentum with a rhythm, which I often write with. If I get something going, I'll just set up a drum track. Okay. Just if I know it's that kind of song, it's not an acoustic song necessarily, it's going to be something like a Maximo Park song. So that's when I'll quickly move around chords for the next bit. I'd try things out to maybe say 2 chords or then 3, and then change the pattern of that. And I remember because Going Missing is like a drop D thing, you've got a lot you can do with the first 2 strings. You know, you can bar just the first 2 and make a very quick chord out of them. So I was like, well, I want this thing to rise up, you know, into whatever the chorus would be. So the bridge came next, and it'd be, okay, here's 3 chords, and it feels like a natural, you know, sort of forget it bit, you know, which felt like, okay, that's a little bit of a chorusy thing in itself.
Yeah.
So it's a bit, I guess it was creating a build out of, you can start with 2 or 3 chords if you're starting simply. Sometimes it could be a riff, but I think that, and then I often find, particularly with our songs, like whether it's, I don't know, Velocity or Coast, there's sort of almost like this, there's this chord that we hit on the chorus is kind of like this kind of exhilarating kind of chord. It's like, it's often a very open, big kind of moment, if you're going for that. And I think then that will start its own progression, which is like this whole brand new thing. It's quite hard to describe, I suppose, but it's almost having that feeling that the momentum's not stopping, or that you're not dropping, or you're not, it's, especially with Maximo Park songs, there's a sense that, this whole thing can fall apart at any point, and it's just going at a certain pace, and that's the excitement, I think, in their songs. And of course, like Paul's delivery and the emotion in what he's singing about. So, I think to get to that point, it's, again, it goes back to that thing of just run with instincts a bit and try some stuff out, and just let your fingers go, and let them just try stuff, and just go as high as you can go, or as drop between, make things more dynamic. Dynamics are good. But you can also, don't be afraid to then strip that back, even if you've worked on it very hard. Just say, that bridge isn't that good, but the verse is still great, so let's just scrap that. And sometimes we grab pieces from other songs.
I was going to say that. Do you ever do that? Do you ever Frankenstein them together a little bit?
That's a big, I mean, you can hear, like, the National Health is a big Frankenstein piece of it's me, Lucas, Archers, and Paul, like all throwing stuff together. Lucas's bit, there was whatever, that's very Lucas did all that, and then I think Archers did a middle bit, and then I did I think the chorus on it, the chords, so we all kind of, that will go with this thing I've got. And songs like The Unshockable, you can almost hear them, they just sound a little bit schizophrenic in their sort of arrangement, So there's definitely that. But I think it's all trial and error, really, but sometimes your instincts will lead you more than if you perhaps analyse stuff. But there's no harm in saying, all right, this is in a key, like key of D or whatever. So, I mean, I'm not great with reading music, But
no, I never was.
So for me, it's more like what chord sounds right, or what chord. Perhaps with Maximo more, it's like, what is that more emotional chord,
Right. Yeah, I would say that I can agree with that. Well, agree, yes, but obviously reflect on that, because I couldn't read music, and only reason I only went off was instincts and would I listen to this?
Yeah.
Because as probably yourself, got a massive music collection. You've listened to a lot of things from around every genre. Going, well, this isn't that something I would buy. This is not something I would listen to. But I do like that chorus. Yeah, it's got a nice hook to it. Let's take it. Yeah. So as you said about The Unshockable, there, it's got loads of different parts. When you're writing music, do you and Paul, I know you're probably the main writers for music and lyrics, do you ever chat about a song first, or do you ever hear, Paul, here's this demo I've got, or Paul goes, this is the lyrics I've got about this certain subject, I know, we're talking about how Risk to Exist is a bit more political. Does that influence the tone? Like, what normally comes first, or is there no blueprint? It just...
particularly on this last album, I think that we sort of got together before we really got writing, and we said, what do we want to do? Because I think in the past we wouldn't really do that. We would just write songs, and I would send Paul some music. And Lucas would as well, and Archers. But it would be like, okay, here's a piece of music that's just come up this morning, and it just feels right. Or it would just be almost like this sort of constant writing. Had sort of begun, so it'd be just send the music, and a lot of those early songs are about sort of Paul's life and his romantic endeavours, and things going wrong and things going right, and sort of human condition and all that. But I think with this album, we did sit down and go, like, the world, what with the referendum happening and everything that's going on around us, we can either choose to ignore all this stuff, but it's so there, it's so kind of, and it was important to kind of address it, but without it being like a preachy album, or it was more like, look, we're all here, and we're all sort of witnessing this, and kind of a message of empathy and solidarity, I guess, is in that. So there's that thing of like, we did sit down and think about that. So the songs, we thought, well, rather than going, let's make a punk political record, which has been done a lot, let's do musically, let's just have a more roomier, funkier feel.
Yeah,
let's do a different, like a different contrast, but with these sort of some political lyrics, some lyrics about, that are about like sort of saying to somebody, I'm around, or I'll be there for you, or whatever, during all this stuff, so sort of messages of hope in it. But I think, it was, let's not do the obvious kind of angry, aggressive political record. Let's do something that people could potentially dance to.
I was going to say, I just want to to the words of
it is slightly strange, but with political messages. Yeah. It's just something we thought, well, that'd be a bit different for us, but also, maybe it'd be, a little fresh here. Somebody might hear it and go, all right, okay. So in that respect we did. So we sort of set about writing with more of a, and I listened to a lot. It's funny just because I remember just before Bowie died, starting to get into Bowie a lot more. I went up across to Liverpool to hang out with Tom because he's in Liverpool.
Right.
And he was just playing all this Bowie stuff. And I wasn't like a massive Bowie head, but I do, when you listen to it, like, that's so good. There's so many, so I sort of got into a bit of that more. And we talked about Prince and all that sort of stuff. So I listened to a bit more of sort of Prince, but also stuff like, anything from Mavis Staples to kind of the funkier 70s stuff to even sort of bands, I guess, like even sort of, Talking Heads a little bit, and bands that, that had that sort of funkier element, or it was more of a conscious thing. The influences grew from that. So whereas in the past it would be, they would just come out and I wouldn't think too much about it musically. It's just that there's this melody and it just feels really strong. We should make a song out of it, So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
As you were talking there, I thought, yes, it's a political album you can dance to.
Yeah.
But then I suppose a lot of the Talking Head stuff's like that.
It's true. Yeah. When you really listen to it, it's like it's about have you got the perfect house or the perfect home, and all that sort of stuff.
But I remember dancing that in a club.
Yeah, that's it. And I think there's, we wanted to do that. We wanted to be a kind of almost like a little bit tongue-in-cheek. There's a bit of a fun element to it, but also we do love that sort of funkier side. We hadn't really explored it as much. It's probably more of the more alternative rock, I suppose. Yeah, if you like. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, as a fan, I know you're obviously in my headphones a lot, but live, I think that's where Maximo Park come alive, so to speak. I should think of a better turn of phrase than that. But that's where I think Maximo Park are most suited, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Do you write with live in mind, or do you write with like headphones in mind, or people's bedrooms in mind, or is it a combination of all?
I think definitely with Maximo more live, because it is more visceral. It's kind of a physical thing, and when we play live, it's like Paul's sort of dancing like a madman, and then Tom is, as a player as well as a drummer, I think about him as he is such a, and he loves playing live. He's live is a big thing for him, whereas I'm happy to sort of be writing in my bedroom or wherever it is. So I think that when they do something, it's definitely with that in mind, because you think about being a band that sort of has toured as long as we have, it becomes such a part of its life and a part of its what it's going to become, next. So you think, okay, so it's sort of almost like a larger communication with that band in a way. Whereas I think, perhaps with solo, even Nanokino, that's a lot more like in sort of in the headphones, or more of a sort of connecting on perhaps a different level, which is also exciting to explore. So that's why I sort of like doing that as well. Yeah,
because I was listening to. Now, was this all one word, or was it spelled out IOUOME?
So it's IOUOME.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Clever.
So it's just
Yeah. So I was listening to that yesterday at work in my headphones.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to say it does sound like a headphone album. I don't know if that's disrespectful or not, but
no, totally,
because there's a lot more going on sonically as well. There's like a lot of guitars. There's a acoustic on the bottom to warm it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So how is the writing different for that So like, I can imagine Maximo, you get a riff, you think that's a rocky riff.
Yeah.
That'll go live. How does it differ for your solo stuff?
I think because, with this sort of stuff, you'll play and the song will just happen kind of there and then with a vocal or a melody or a lyric. It'll be, whereas I think with the Maximo stuff, it'll be literally just with it in mind, with the band in mind in a way. So I think, most days I'll sort of have a play of some sort, or whether it be on the piano or on the guitar, and that's when it becomes clear what sort of song it is. And I think if I invest in it in some way, like lyrically or something I want to get out, then that ends up being a more solo thing. So I realise it would be hard for Paul to kind of sing, what I'm trying to sing about. Although sometimes that could be possible, but for him, I think, especially for Maximo, it's really important for him to be able to express himself and his lyrics, and that's totally cool, because that's who we are as a group. But with the solo thing, it tends to be a sort of a quieter start. It tends to be a little journey through what I'm trying to get at, and naturally I'm a quieter singer, and I'm sort of I haven't got that sort of lung power in a way, unless I've had a few, or it's a backing vocal, but so at home I'd be it's kind of it's a quieter start for sure, and it's more, there's a lot more exploring going on in I don't think so much in terms of it being a pop song necessarily, or it being something that the other lads will be into this. I just think it's more of an expression in a way, I guess, if that makes sense.
So I'm just conscious of time there. Do you, when you're writing music for yourself or for the band, and then you get in a bit of a solo jam, if you will, but then all of a sudden this riff comes out, do you ever just nick stuff for the band and the other way around?
Definitely. I sort of, it's always there at the back of your mind, so I'll be like, all right, hang on a minute, that's going to work really well for the group. Sometimes I'll have a song that's in between, I'm like, I can really think of stuff for this that but then I'm also like, you just sometimes going to go, no, it's cool, that would benefit more, Maximo. And there are occasions I'll be writing and something slow or something, and trying to, and then just go and just go a bit mental and go just play loads of stuff on the guitar that's more just to sort of get just to get away from what I'm doing, and that'll end up being a song, and it might be a Maximo thing. So I'm always sort of grabbing bits and moving things around. It's like a puzzle in a way. It's puzzle solving. It's the same when you got a piece of the song that's missing. You're like, what's going to go there? And sometimes it might be just hand it over to the group and see what they come up with. As well. So it's cool.
I totally agree with that. I totally see where you're coming from, because we were struggling with a song once, and I just said to Simon, the bass player, is there anything in your head from this? And what we did was, actually, when we recorded it, Kev did, when he had a license to do it, he just stripped the guitars out. So it was just, I think it was even hi-hat and snare, it might even be in the bass tone in the bass line, just bumping through, and I would never have connected that dot. So I think that collaborative feeling must be a kick.
And I think the other thing is to sort of, when you're in a group, is rather than think too much about, say, what you're doing or what your part is, it can be hard for people, because they want to be part of a song, is to also know when to kind of drop back and go, we don't all have to be going hell for leather, and we can just say, like, okay, this is better without me playing on it. I don't need to play on this bit. It's being able to say that. I think that can be hard, because bands are often like, everybody wants to have their little sort of say in the song, and so it's learning to not have an ego about it. Which, if it's your vision of a song, but it's not quite happening, but it's close, then sometimes you have to let somebody else take over. So
exactly.
So
cool. I'm just noticing it's getting quite busy in here. So last bit of the interview is always the charity of the week.
Sure.
Sounds bad, like I was getting busy, so let's try, but just conscious of that. So yeah, was there any particular charity that you want to mention or give a shout out to or next to?
Well, my partner, she works at St Oswald.
Oh, okay.
So she works in one of the charity shops. So yeah, that's St Oswald.
That's a good charity local one as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. All we'll do is put links on the website to similar charities around the country as well.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And we'll go from there. So, Duncan Lloyd, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so that is Duncan Lloyd. Different circumstances to when I spoke to Paul. Paul was backstage at a gig in the summer. This was a cold Thursday in a pub in Newcastle.
Yes, it has been rather cold.
It has been. This was just before this proper snow came through. But yeah, it was nice to meet up with Duncan. Gave him the amp head like I spoke about, and we had a good chat on the way up, just to the pub about.
Were you wandering around the city centre with a guest again?
Yes, I was. There was even further walk, but it was had a conversation about music and about like when he gets PRS statements through for like if a song's played somewhere randomly, he's like, it's pretty cheap just not to give us the money for this because it's like played somewhere random.
Yes, 80 pence, and we've sent you a letter out to tell you about it.
I think he would love 80 pence. I think we're talking like right. Points of pence and some of them. Like Spotify players and stuff. So yeah, we didn't really get into that in the interview, but yeah, it was just like quite cool. I go, yeah, I'm just talking to Duncan from Maximo Park, just walking through town. But yeah, the first thing, it's quite good that like obviously they're in this bit of a downtime from Maximo Park, which is essentially the day job. Yeah. Allows him to do stuff soloing with Nano Kino, and it gives him that luxury of doing that. So in the downtime, he keeps himself occupied by kind of writing for 3 bands at the same time. And we spoke about having starting a song, going, actually that would work better for this than it will for that. Picking up songs that you think, oh, I don't know where that was going, but actually work somewhere else. This whole songwriting part of it, when we spoke about getting up, writing some, going away, coming back to it, that is a good process because, like, I remember when we wrote songs. And if you write a good song, you get a good riff, and you put like a drums to it, and you think, actually, this is really good. It's really good. And you come back to it, you record it on your phone, you come back to it and go, I don't think this is very good. But then you just have to hear a riff in it or a bass line and go, let's see if we can work on it. Sometimes they come quickly, as he said, just fall out your head onto the guitar and out on the paper. Something you've got to work at. And sometimes, like we spoke with Willie Mason, you could work on it for 3 or 4 attempts, and you don't get it. Is it really worth it? But
I'm a fan of the day break or a few days break and come back to something. I think in general, whether it's writing music or otherwise. But yeah, I think it's a useful thing to do rather than rattling through, writing it, laying it down, recording all the rest of it, bang, done. Go back to it, see what it sounds like.
Let it breathe a little bit because...
Like your new term.
It is, I quite like it. I also like let it marinate. What do you think of that? So,
but shaking my head.
Yeah, but the point remains though, because if you write a song, you just bang it out there, and you go, right, that's really good, and you come back, I don't like that, but you may have wasted a riff. You may have wasted a drum loop that you quite like. You may have wasted some really good lyrics.
Yeah.
So letting it, working on it, and then you think, oh, that's not really going anywhere. And then you get a bit downhearted, but then stripping it right back to what was good about it at the start. And that whole process of filtering it and then letting it go for a couple of days to see what it sounds like after that is I think is important.
Yeah. Which sort of then led on to saying, if you've gone back to a song, maybe is it still not working? How do you move on? And that's when he sort of got into the whole writer's block thing, and he was sort of saying rather than just constantly trying to nail that one song, just go on to a different one. So maybe have lots of bits of songs that you're working on at the same time. So you might have one riff, you might get that so far, then just park it and leave it for a bit, knowing that you'll come back to it in a few days with a fresh perspective or fresh energy, and then move on to another one and pick up that other little riff or that other lyric or whatever it might be and work on that for a bit.
Yeah, because we mentioned about like Frankenstein and songs, and he said the National Help is basically a Frankenstein album.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a technical term, but
it is now.
It is now. And I can totally see how that would happen, because you've got all these little bits that you really want to get out there, because you know that. And he said himself, he works on instinct a lot as well. Being a music fan, he'll work on instinct of like, that's not going to work, but I really like this riff, or I really like how that progresses. And he says when he's writing for Maximo, he has live in mind, and like how the song's progressing, and it's got momentum to it, the chord sequences, and.
Well, I think when he was talking about going missing when he wrote that, just putting it on a 4-track and putting a beat to it,
the beat
really helped him say, right, I've got this riff, but
don't know where it's going.
Transition it from the riff to the rest. I can't just play the riff constantly throughout the whole song. What do I do?
It's a good riff.
It's a very good riff, but yeah, it's not necessarily going to make for a very good song if that's all it is. So then putting a beat to it then helps them to sort of manoeuvre out of that. So again, simple technique, whether it's on a 4-track or however you might go about just putting...
You get an app on your phone.
Even a basic, automated, standard drum beat pattern, just there's something in the background to then...
Yeah, kind of like take your mind in a different way as well, won't it?
Yeah, well, as you know, it's a riff will sound completely different. It just changes massively once there's something else paired with it or in the background or whatever.
For better or for worse in some cases.
Yeah. It just changes it. So no, I thought that was a good tip for people to just give that a go if you've got loads of guitar riffs that you've recorded, whether it's on your phone or wherever, to then move it from just being that guitar riff into having a bit of even a basic backing standard drum loop or something on the back of it.
Yeah, and that's, I suppose, like the ways Duncan was describing how he writes. He must like do a lot of writing by himself before taking it to the rest of the band, because...
Well, he said he uses voice memos a lot to capture ideas, and I think we've covered this in parts, but there's certain times of day that you'll have a lot of ideas. So if it's just about to go to bed, voice memo on phone, right? Here's something.
Melody.
Almost like the dictaphone type approach of, right, here's what, even if it's humming into, this is what the thing is in my mind. So you might not have your guitar next to you.
Yeah.
But about to fall asleep, quick, la 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 into the voice memo, bang, it's there. Or even put the melody in and then describe or talk to yourself about, right, I was thinking about this type of thing and it sounds like la la la. And then I was thinking about moving into something else, and then you've got that captured. If you're anything like me, you'll have forgotten, even if you were to remember the melody or the tune, you go, right, what was I going to do with that? Or what was the point? Or what was I thinking about? Or was that for a new song? Or was that, like, my memory being as it is, I just completely forget some of the context as to what I was thinking. So I'd only ever, my process was writing like notes in the more memo pad type apps of a phone. I didn't ever do the voice type memo. Maybe as if I was to start over, I'd maybe think about that.
All that kit's there, isn't it? Like now you can do a lot of that stuff. Free kit there, free apps and stuff, or even just a bit of paper and a pen. Yeah, and it's
sort of less of a challenge these days to maybe have a few voice recordings on your phone as opposed to just some text where you've written down. So no, I like that as a suggestion and an idea.
Oh, definitely. And as I already said, the trying to work out where you were going with it. Do you strip it back? Do you progress it? Don't get downhearted if you work on it for so long and go, this hasn't gone anywhere, but that riff is still good, because he could have potentially have thrown away a good going missing riff. Potentially. And that's one of my favourite songs off a certain trigger.
Yeah, if he'd felt like he'd hit a dead end and never...
I like that. Yeah, I can't get out of it, so it mustn't be any good. But obviously persistence and working with it, obsessing over it again, this obsession thing that we've spoke about before. And I suppose like when you're in a band as well, you could have went to Paul or Archers or whoever and say, this is what I've got. Can we try and work it? And like, that is a good riff. Let's go with it. And like I'm making up stories on Duncan's behalf here, but like it's kind of what the gist I was getting from it.
Yeah, so there was another. So one of the bits that I liked when he was talking, and this ties into one of the Jamie episodes, where he was almost talking about knowing when not to play.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a bit in the Jamie episode where he was like, right, I don't necessarily, or not even at all, need to be the centre of attention.
Of course.
And, you know, much like, interestingly, from a Maximo perspective, right, if I'm the guitarist, there's going to be times where, you know what, keys can take the lead, or the drums might take the lead. You know, the right thing for me to do might be to just stop playing.
Yeah, and I sent an example of what we did in that year.
Yeah, and I think that's overlooked, maybe, that just having a period of time where certain instruments just stop.
Yeah.
I don't think that's used enough, maybe.
It's not, because we guitarists sometimes have a bit of an ego.
Oh, you're always making a racket of some kind.
Yes, I have this kit and I have that kit. I want it to be heard, but you're right. When Kev dropped the guitar out of a couple of our songs and just let Simon's bass go over the top, which was a good riff. It wasn't much of a riff, actually. It was more like a progression.
Yeah.
I was like, that is a good idea.
Yeah.
Damn yo. But that's right, and it works for the song. You've got to remember, the band is a team as well. It's a team thing to do. So, because we have played with bands before that the guitarist just goes on these massive solos. Like, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
The bass line is really good. Like, get the people dancing more than just going, how good are you on the guitar? Which is what something like Jamie said in one of the previous episodes as well.
The next thing I had was how, in the early days, this wasn't a factor, but certainly for the last album, they sat down and thought about what they were going to do.
Yeah, we spoke about this in Paul episode, yeah.
And almost planned it out. So again, it seems like that was a specific conscious decision.
Political pop, I think we called it. Something I didn't
which, again, it comes back to a lot of what we've been talking about in a lot of the episodes for this podcast has been around the fact that give it some thought, think about what you're doing, plan it out. Now, Maximo, extremely successful band, and they're saying, largely no real plan when it came to doing albums in the early days. So it's
because he said it was excitement of being in a band.
Yeah,
when he said, I was like, yes, I have that as well.
Doing everything all around. So, as much as we'll still continually bang the drum about planning and thinking about it and giving it some thought, all the rest of it, also there's an element of sometimes just do it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, just crack on and
you'll
make some mistakes, but just do it. Whatever it is,
there's definitely a balance, because if you think, you know what, we've planned out, we're going to play our first gig in this month. We're going to aim for that. But then a gig comes up, like when your mate says, we're short a band. Do you fancy playing it? It's not in the plan. Screw the plan. Throw the plan out the window at that point. I love a plan is useful, and I think the plan comes down as good when you think about social media or touring or recording or photographs or whatever. We've spoken
plans need to be flexible.
The businessy side of it. But if a gig comes up, we're not quite ready for like playing the academy with this band. You don't know that. Chuck the plan out the window.
Well, it's
What if that gig doesn't come up again? What if
flip side though? If you're actually really not ready and you play it and you're awful, and then that
you've got to
sets you back a bit. So
you've got to think about that.
These things, but it was just a point that there's still that harnessing that early energy and just going for it to an extent is still important.
Yeah, and that energy part again. We've spoke about the energy of Maximo live, and then when he's writing songs, like we've spoke about it already in this little bit as well about writing for live or writing for headphones. His solo stuff is really good in the headphones. I bet it's really good live as well, but it's good in the headphones if you're working, for example. As is Maximo Park, but they're a live band. And I bet you if he's writing, I actually want to write a song for me today, and all of a sudden you think, actually this has really got a good progression. It's driving through the chords.
Yeah. This
will be better live with Paul dancing around and stuff, and the drums kicking in.
Yeah. So, good cause for the week.
Yeah. It's quite a local one, but this will be replicated across the country.
It is, and again, something close to me. That, from my grandparents' perspective, when they were around, a charity that gives so much care to people, particularly at their end of their lives, and just fantastic service that they offer. Absolutely superb. So it's something that I've supported, given bits of money to for a long time over the years, and it was really nice to to hear Duncan mention it, and
his wife working for the shops.
Yeah. So big supporter myself, and good to get it, give it a shout out. So again, definitely. Absolutely put.
Yes, that's St Oswald's. Hospice. And I think it's quite similar to what we mentioned in Mark's. Like that was a specific hospice in that area, and this is quite specific to our area, but they do great work. Everyone knows about St Oswald's around here, don't they?
Yeah.
So fantastic charity.
Yeah, great shout. So up next week we kick off a two-parter with Frankie Francis of Frankie and the Heartstrings, where we talk about forming a band, investing in a band, and band identity.
We've reached the end of this week's episode of Anyone Can Play Guitar podcast.
Big thank you for tuning in, and remember to stop by iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
While you're there, it would be amazing if you could leave a rating and a review.
All the show notes can be found at www.acpgmusic.com, and if you want to get in touch,
email us your questions, any feedback and any suggestions to info@acpgmusic.com.
That's it for now. Keep supporting upcoming artists,
and we'll catch you next time.